In my quest to leave a mark on the culture and make hip hop proud, I'd like to welcome you all to another episode of The Essence. I am your host, KB Tyndall, and The Essence is presented by Tent TV and powered by Validated Magazine. Today, I have a consummate MC and a Shakespearean trained actor. He represents Detroit to the fullest, and he's a true artistic and creative soul that embodies every bar that he raps and every character that he plays. He started acting almost 25 years ago, and he has amassed almost 100 acting credits, including Weeds, The Shield, NYPD Blue, Barber Shop, Desperate Housewives, The Upshaws, Snowfall, The Meg, and most recently, Meg 2, The Trench, just to name a few. His musical discography is 10 projects deep, from 2017's Torn Pages, 2018's Same Page, Different Story, 2021's Page, 2022's Front Pages, 2023's A Book of Pages, along with his Straight Bars mixtape series, which now hosts 5 volumes. He's gone bar for bar with some of the best in the game, like his fellow Detroit native Royce the 5'9", King Crooked, Grafh, The Game, Ransom, 3D Nati, King Los, Elzhi, Fred the Godson, Jon Connor, ANoyd and Nick Grant. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to this episode the legendary, the one and only Mr. Page Kennedy.
I gotta give you a damn round of applause for that. That was the best damn intro that I felt like I was on Club Shay Shay.
Well, thank you very much, brother. I really appreciate that, man. You know, when I do my research, man, and when I interview people, you know, I like to pay the homage that's deserved. You know what I mean? I know a lot of people do interviews and they want to do it for clicks and they want to ask you all these crazy questions and all this. Man, I do it for the love of the art. You know what I mean? And I want to pay homage to people that have given us a piece of their soul. You know what I mean? And you've done that, you know, on 2 different platforms as far as music and acting is concerned. So thank you very much, man. I'm glad you appreciated the intro.
Hey man, I appreciate it, and I appreciate being here, man. I appreciate the love that you have for our culture and acknowledging me as being a part of it.
Absolutely, absolutely. First question, man, was hip hop the first love for you?
Michael Jackson was the first love for me. Michael Jackson, and then honestly, I feel like Michael Jackson and hip hop probably came contemporaneous for me. Like, yeah, I think they came around the same time, around 7 years old, you know,
okay.
When I fell in love with both of them.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, same thing for me, man. I was a big Jackson 5 fan, a huge Michael Jackson fan. I may be a little bit older than you, but and then after that, hip hop started to infiltrate my life. You know what I mean? So definitely kind of like the same thing for me. I'm a huge Michael Jackson fan.
Mike came for you first?
Mike came for me first. Yeah. Mike came for me first. Yeah. Absolutely.
All right, bet. So it probably was like around the same.
Yeah. Yeah, Michael Jackson was definitely my first love. I remember dancing like him in the living room for my parents and all that kind of stuff when they had parties. So yeah, he was definitely first. And then as I hit like 11, 12 years old, hip hop just took over after that. It was, yeah, absolutely. Where did the name Page come from? I know your government name is Felton, but where did the name Page come from?
It's funny because Page is short for my nickname and my rap name in high school, which was Rampage. So I used to go by Rampage in high school because I played football. And, you know, when I was playing football, I used to get into this mode. It was kind of like my Super Saiyan mode where I just black out and like go crazy. It's kind of like what we would call today crashing out. Like when you get into that mind frame where you just gonna crash out and you just don't care and you just everything is just crash out. So I would crash out and you know, this was back when the movie Candyman was out. And if you said Candyman a certain amount of times, he will appear. You know what I mean? So that's how Rampage was. So I would have to say it 3 times, Rampage, Rampage, Rampage. And I was just so the Super Saiyan mode. And that's how it used to be in football. And so I went through many iterations of my rap names. I started at Kid Ice, and then I found out that, that was Fresh Kid Ice from Two Live Crew, so I had to change it. So then I was a fan of MC Light, so I changed it to Kid Light. And then, I got a little bit older from that. Then I changed it to King Ice because I was a big fan of King T and King Sun. And then Ice Cube and Ice T were super huge impacts for me during that time with West Coast hip hop. And so I combined those two, and then I landed on King Ice. And so when I got to high school and I had Rampage, there was this dude named Snipe who was older than me, and he was a street cat. Even though he was in high school, he had already been to jail. He used to sell drugs. He used to do all this stuff. And I kind of used to look up to him because he was rapping differently than I was rapping. I still was kind of low key on like some kid shit. I wasn't really cussing. I was I was 13. I was like a freshman in high school. I ain't really cussed that much. The stuff that I was rapping about wasn't even, like that. But he was rapping about street shit. He had a song called Running Child, and it was like, talking about being in Detroit and going from the east side to the west side and selling drugs and going to jail and shooting people and all this shit that I would like hear on the West Coast, but like not here in Detroit. And so I would battle him. I would always get smoked. First of all, he was probably like 16, and I was like 13. So he was in a whole different part of his life than I was in the first place. So I would always lose to him because I was too soft. And so what I did was, that Rampage character that I had for football, when I got in the 10th grade, I turned it into my rap name too. So then I had a dual personality. I had King Ice, which was like my wholesome, just bars, kind of hip hop raps. And then I had this other pseudo character that I created called Mr. Rampage. Actually it was just Rampage, but then the Busta Rhymes dude from Flip Mode, he was Rampage. I was like, damn, I gotta change my shit again. So I changed to Mr. Rampage. And I got King Ice and Mr. Rampage. And Mr. Rampage was just like my alter ego of the Super Saiyan. So I was just talking about shit that I saw and was around me. I wasn't living it, but I kind of like how Nas did, when he was coming out, just and Kendrick, talking about the stuff that is in the environment. And so Mr. Rampage came out of that. Now, how Page came to pass is everyone in my school, teachers, principals, everybody called me Rampage because I was on the football team, and I'm Rampage to everybody, So the only people, my mom, and the only people who didn't call me Rampage is my dad. My dad said he wasn't gonna call me Rampage, and my computer teacher. When I was in the 11th grade, I had a computer class. It's so funny because it's probably like 1993. So like for big computers that couldn't even really do nothing in. It was just like a step above a typewriter. You know what I'm saying? And she told me, I'm not calling you Rampage. That sounds like a thug. I'll call you Page, but I ain't calling you Page. And so she used to call me Page. Now, when I graduated high school and I went to Grand Rapids Community College, the first day I got there, I was in my English class, and the English teacher said, okay, what do you guys want to be called? And because I had just got there and I didn't want to be embarrassed in front of the whole class on my first day in college, I didn't want to say Rampage and had the teacher do what my computer teacher did. So I was like, yeah, just call me Page. You know what I'm saying? and there it was born. That's a whole long story. I've never told that story like that in its entirety. So you got the exclusive on that on the Essence.
That's amazing. That's an amazing story for an amazing name, man. That's what's up, man. Definitely. I'm not gonna ask you to rap it, but do you remember the first rap that you ever wrote, and what was the context of it?
My telephone is a great big pain because every girl that calls me sounds the same. My girl sounds like Sharon. She sounds like Sean. Sean sounds like sounds like Gone. Kawana has the number, and Lisa too, and I can never tell who is who. Every time the phone rings, I cold get nervous. Sometimes I wish I had an answering service. I always get caught up in the same cocaine, like when my girl calls, I say Sharon's name. Then my girl gets mad, hangs up the phone. I call her right back and get a busy tone. Tom and Jerry told me to get my number changed, but I thought it was cool, so I kept it the same. As the day goes on, my problems go. Get another telephone, right? Oh no. So that was my first rap was called My Telephone.
That's what's up, man. I hear elements of LL Cool J all up through that.
Hell yeah, Crush Groove was my favorite movie back then.
No doubt, no doubt, no doubt. My one of my favorites too. I mean, I grew up in Hollis, Queens, so I grew up around L and Run DMC. Like that's my neighborhood, and you know what I mean. Like to see them cats flourish the way they did back then was amazing, man. And I got to see it on the ground level, man. Definitely,
Yeah.
definitely.
Christmas in Hollis, Queens.
Hell
Mom's
yeah.
and then collard greens.
Definitely, definitely. When did you know that you wanted to be an MC? Not a rapper, but an MC. And then who was the catalyst to that? Like, who did you study?
Well, you know, back then, you know, you was just rhyming. And I've been rhyming since elementary school.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I started rapping like around 7. And I had that same rap for all of elementary school until I think maybe like the 5th grade. In the 5th grade, I wrote my second. I was 10. Yeah, I was 10 years old in the 5th grade, and that's when I wrote my second rap, because all throughout those 3 years, I would just do my telephone. It was so good, I didn't have to do nothing else but that. And there was a commercial for this thing called My Buddy Dials. And it was like, my buddy, I take
that.
it where I go. So I did a flip on that song, and I was like a licentious little scamp at that time early on anyway. So I changed it to My Dickie. And I would talk about my dick when I was 10 years old. My Dickie, I take it everywhere I go. My Dickie, my Dickie and me. And so, you know, in elementary school, like obviously all the little kids, the little boys, they love that because they was watching the same commercial that I was, you know what I'm saying? And now I just flipped my buddy to that, you know, and so that was popular. And so that was the second rap that I wrote when I was in the 10th grade, you know. And so in middle school, you know, there weren't many people to battle in elementary school because I was really the only rapper at that time in elementary school. But in middle school, there was other rappers. Like once I was like probably 11, I guess. Yeah, I was 10. So I went to middle school when I was 10. You know, I started middle school at 10. And there were other, like, you know, because I had just moved. I had moved from my pops to my mom, so another side of town. And there was like some other kids, like, you know, in that neighborhood that was rapping too. So we would rap, we would freestyle, you know, do all of that shit. And I was influenced like heavily by, you know, it started off with Curtis Blow. Then it went to Run DMC. Then I was a huge fan of the Fat Boys because of Crush Groove. And you know, so that was like through middle school with Slick Rick, you know, and Kwame and Kool Moe Dee, LL, you know. And then that moved on to like high school where I fell in love with like NWA, and Ice Cube became my favorite rapper for the longest period of time. Like I was a sycophant for Ice Cube, you know what I'm saying? So I fell in love with that West Coast gang culture, even though NWA is not gang, but it's just the West Coast 90s like culture to me is my favorite time in history. It's the favorite my favorite zeitgeist like time.
Got you.
Period.
Got you. Got you. Like I said, I did a lot of listening to a lot of the projects that you have out. One that kept me entrenched was the first was Straight Bars from 2021. You had the grand finale on there with Royce
Oh,
the 9, The Game, Grafh, My
4,
Song,
right? Is
Ransom.
that Straight Bars 4? Yeah, I think it's
I
Straight
think
Bars
that
4.
yeah. So you had Made You Look on there with I think it was Nick Grant, but it didn't say it was Nick Grant, but it sounded like his voice. Elzhi, Mickey Fax, King Los, Cassidy, King Crooked.
Oh, okay, that's a different one. So you talking about the first Straight Bars that had that lineup on there. The grand
Oh,
finale was Straight Bars 4.
okay, all right, okay. So you had Straight Bars 4 was with the grand finale. On the first one, you had the Made You Look. You also had a song called Hello, which was definitely a great way to intro a mixtape over Freeway's What We Do. You had a song called Welcome to Detroit over Cameron's Welcome to New York City. Now, that was a vivid, colorful, descriptive portrayal about life growing up in the D. You left an example like for kids to grow up looking at and to be inspired by. Who did you look up to as a kid when you were growing up?
Well, obviously, like we said before, everything is always going to start with Michael Jackson, and that's even to now. That's even to this day. Like I live my life, and wanting to create indelible greatness, and it comes from him, and then that his teachings was poured into Kobe Bryant, who is also my next hero, you know, with the Mamba mentality, and he got it from Michael Jackson. You know what I'm saying? And so those two people were my heroes above everyone else. Kobe is like my favorite athlete of all time. Michael Jackson is my favorite like human being born of all time. And so I looked up to them. But when you think about like in a hip hop space, like I said, Ice Cube like meant so much to me, like, and not just like obviously for the rapping stuff, of course, like I can say Ice Cube raps word for word, like what I mean, but also because him and Ice-T were like the first rappers that went to be like real actors, and
Mm-hmm.
and I knew I wanted to do that too. You know what I'm saying? And so they like gave me the blueprint to say that it's possible for me to do this. Now remember, I'm still in Detroit when all of this is happening. I'm just having in my brain, in my mind, this is what I want to do. I know I want to be an actor. I know I want to be a rapper, and I want to be like Ice Cube.
Right. It's crazy. Now, if you think about that same song, a lot of the things that you talked about in there are things that happen in the hood in general. How did you escape falling through some of those pitfalls? Like, I know you don't drink, I know you don't smoke, like, and that goes against the grain of a rapper, period. You know what I'm saying? So, like, where did you get the mentality from to just say, I'm just not going to do that? Was that also like the Mamba mentality? Was that also like a Michael Jackson thing, or was that something else?
It was something else, man. My mom was a functioning crackhead. My
Okay.
dad, my dad was a hedonist person as well. And, me coming from the background that I came from, that, it was either two ways that you could go. Either you could embrace that background and become that, or you could be scared off by it and deterred from it. And that's what I was. I've been through so much growing up as a kid. I've seen so much death and destruction all around me and to me, that it made me scared. I was a scary kid, and so I stayed away from all of that. And then, I I I I hated seeing my mom when she was high, because I would always know. Like I said, she wasn't like the crackheads that you see like on the movies. you know, like a functioning addict. But I knew when she was high, it was obviously it was a certain smell that I hated. It was a certain way her eyes was when she looked at me, and I hated it. And I remember her distinctly telling me, "Do as I say, not as I do." And I was so mad when she said that I said, I never want to tell my kids that. I never want to tell my kids that. And so I'm going to make a choice to not drink or not smoke for the rest of my life. And I'm never going to give them an opportunity to say, well, you did it when you was young. Like, I'm just going to refrain from it. And I'm going to tell them that it's possible to grow up immersed in it and choose not to do it if you want to, because I see how deleterious it is, you know, when you abuse drugs and alcohol. And so also I was playing football and I didn't want to contaminate my body, you know, and so I made a pact with myself and I vowed to never do it, and hope to create generations of Kennedys that would be completely sober. And I thought that I would have a better like state, you know, with them if I were to tell them this is a choice that I made for us. And, you know, I want to have this thing that I don't know that very many families have. And I've been successful so far. Like my two oldest kids, they don't drink, they don't smoke, they don't do drugs, they don't do any of that. You know, I have two younger ones. I got, you know, 11 and 12-year-old. I instilled the same thing in them, and hopefully they will, you know, take that admonishment and want to be a part of this thing that I'm creating, and they want to do it for their kids too. And so then you have multiple generations of Kennedys that have been completely sober, and I haven't seen families like that before, and I wanted to create one.
That's amazing, man. That's absolutely amazing. I definitely struggled, you know, with various forms of addiction, and I can truly say that, you know, being sober today, almost 10 years now, is different than anything that I've ever done, right? And it's opened up a whole new world in life that I never even thought possible, just from a mental standpoint, right? From a mental and a physical standpoint. So I commend you on doing that early and sticking to that and passing that down to your kids. That's super, super, super commendable, man. Absolutely.
Appreciate that.
Absolutely. So let me see here. You did a song called No Offense over Onyx's Last Days, which is one of Onyx's hardest beats. And on that song, you said that you've been hot since you was on tour with Biggie. Explain that time in your career, opening up for Big, opening up for Ice Cube. I mean, not a lot of people can say they actually got to chop it up with Big, much less share the stage with Big, even from our generation. So tell me what that was like, and tell me what you learned from that time that you still carry with you today.
So that was an amazing time for me. You know, I was in college during that time. So you know, Big never had an actual like full on tour. So he would just, you know, do spot dates here and there. And so, you know, I would be his opening act during all of his stops in Michigan. You know what I mean? And so for me, you know, that time was great because, you know, we had amazing people that were like on that run, on that tour with them, like Yuck Mouth and the Loonies. You know, I connected with them. And it's funny, like, you know, one of my best stories that I had is I actually battled Yuck Mouth in Biggie's room. Like, you know, and everybody was there. Like, you know, like a lot of the people from Bad Boy was there, you know, and Lil C's, Numbskull, they all were there. And it was just me and Yuck Mouth going back and forth for like 45 minutes. They recorded it, and that, you know, that was a dope time. You know what I'm saying? I was young, I was impressionable, and you know, it was a fun time being around there, and having him do practical jokes on me, and you know, so yeah, we you know, we had a good time, and Big thought that I was a dope MC, you know, and he shared that.
No doubt, no doubt, definitely. Book of Pages, released in 2023. It has several joints on it. Some of my favorites are Practice, Change, God's Grace, Why You Hating, featuring Jon Connor, and I Know, featuring King Los and King Crooked, and of course, I'm On One, featuring my guy ANoyd and Nick Grant. And you even got the legendary Ice-T on Phenomenon. But the track that I want to talk about is Fly High. On there, you said that being a rapper is a hazardous occupation. You even talked about black on black crime. Now, I have my theory of why I think being a rapper is a hazardous occupation, but I want to know what your idea of that is and why you feel that way. And then on top of that, I want to know, what do you do outside of music and outside of acting to push the narrative that we don't have to kill each other, or that kids don't have to fall victims to the things that they see growing up in the hood?
So I think that first of all, thank you for that illustration and of the songs that stood out to you. Right. Those songs stand out to me as well. So it's good to hear, what songs stand out to people on the project. So that's dope for sure. Okay. But I think that rap is a hazardous occupation because I have another occupation and I don't see that happen with them. I don't see athletes killing each other. I don't see doctors killing each other. I don't see any other occupation in the world where they murder each other at all, not less at the rate in which we do, and so it's scary because it's almost like, if you choose this occupation, then you choose it at your own peril, Now I do think that a lot of it could be the energy that you present. I do definitely believe that, because if you there's certain rappers that you don't imagine, or you wouldn't imagine hearing them in any type of confrontation or beef like that. Like, you don't think like Common would be shot, or Black Thought, or Chance the Rapper, Childish Gambino, or there's certain people who carry a certain energy that doesn't bring on that negative energy. But then you have other rappers who might come from a certain place and they want to keep that same energy, or you may have rappers who just feel like the people want to hear about that, and so they bring that type of energy with them. The type of music that they make is that way, and so they walk around with that type of energy, and it welcomes it, And so for me, because I'm not that way, like I don't want that energy. I don't want to give off beef type energy, or tough guy shit, like, you know what I'm saying? But I just see all of our young kings, and like, can you imagine what Big and Pac would have been today? Who knows? They could have been into politics. They could have been like, I imagine that Tupac would have been Will Smith, because I feel like he's more talented. No offense. I feel like he's more talented, and he was just a baby. He didn't even get an opportunity to find how talented he really was. So Tupac could have very easily been, it's inconceivable of what he possibly could have been. Biggie only had 2 albums. Imagine 7 albums in of Big, like, and what he would have turned into. And so it just makes me despondent to think about, how we just murder each other. You know what I mean? And then we have the audacity to want to fight and shout out so loud about when other people take our lives, but yet we take our lives at a higher rate than anything else.
Yep.
And that might be taboo to say, but I wanted to speak on it.
It's the truth, though. It's the absolute truth, and sometimes the truth is hard to hear. You know what I mean? So what do you do outside of acting and music to push that narrative that we don't have to go that way? When I say that, I mean like any kind of nonprofits, or how do you give back to the community? How do you get that message to the kids without being preachy or pushy about it?
I mean, my message is just like the way that I walk through life. People know me to be a lover of human beings and a dad. Like, I'm a dad first, and I care about love and energy and building kings. And so it's just me, and how I walk through life is like the biggest harbinger that, I can be for the community at this time.
Okay, got you. When I think about that kind of stuff, man, when I think about, the harm that we do on ourselves as a community, there's this new movie out. I don't know if you've seen it yet. It's called Origin. I'm not sure if you actually watched it or not.
That's funny. In the movie that's out called The Origin with and often, like, a lady came up to my son trying to talk to him about how good he did in the movie and at the swimming pool part, and
that's the movie I'm talking about. That's your son?
No, he also have in our movie a swimming pool part.
Okay. Because I was about to say there's a similar part in this movie, Origin, with this black dude at the swimming pool. Right. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and it's the same type of. And so, but then she said she didn't remember me in the movie. And I'm like, what are you talking about? How could you not remember me? I had the most salient part. I did all of the action at the end. She's like, action? I don't remember any action. And that's because she was conflating our movie to Origin. But
okay.
Yeah, I thought of Origin.
Okay, yeah. I watched it the other night, man. Excellent movie. Just an excellent depiction of how you can poison an entire generation of people by, by killing off everybody instead of just one person, right? And when I say killing off, I mean killing off mentally, killing them off physically, like how they did to us in slavery, or how the Nazis did to the Jews. That's what that whole movie was about, like how you can implement a plan that will kill not only one person, but kill off everybody and make them all scared, so that this hierarchy of people feel like they're superior and they make you feel inferior. And I think that's part of what's still going on today in the Black community, that people don't even realize that they feel inferior. They don't even realize it, right? To a certain degree. I think I think it's a big thing when generation after generation after generation keeps falling for the same thing over and over and over again. And I think that was part of a plan that was designed for it to work that way, right? So when I see somebody that goes outside of that realm and they preach a different message, or they walk a different way in life, and they're inspiring young kings and queens to do the opposite of the norm, that's something that's super commendable,
Yeah.
We don't see that a lot.
Yeah.
So that's my take on that. Absolutely. Your latest release, Straight Bars 5, man. Anybody that says Paige Kennedy can't fucking rap, man, go fuck yourself, bro.
They bugging, son.
For real, son. No doubt. You got joints on there like Come On Baby, Over My Limit. Of course, you bodied the DJ Khaled joint, what Paige did. 8 a.m. in Thailand, which is a super deep track. I want to know if you faced some karma that was directly related to the way that you may have dealt with women in the past, or using the truth serum, as you so call it, in that song. And what lessons have you learned from that?
I mean, listen, bro. 4 kids, 4 baby mamas, and they all crazy. like obvious, the crazy ones had to end up pregnant, and some of them I used condoms with, and they still end up pregnant. Like that was my karma. But that was my serendipitous karma, because now I have 4 beautiful children that I love. And even though you have your issues or whatever with their moms, and I was never like with their moms, like it's just something that like one-offs that happened. And so so I don't even like know their moms like that. It's not like I was in relationships with them, and you know what I mean. So you deal with them for as long as you have to deal with them until they get old enough where you don't have to deal with them at all, and you only deal with your kids. And
Right.
And so I call them like my best mistakes I've ever made.
There you go.
But listen, man, that was one of my huge proclivities is women. Like I didn't drink, I didn't smoke, I didn't do drugs, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, you know, one of the things that I indulged in is I love women.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So so yeah, stuff comes in dealing with that. But like when you are in that lifestyle in that way, that it comes with that. But I always try to minimize my potential damage. And
Right.
so me being honest with women, I think does that because a lot of times, men and mendacity to get what they want to achieve, that is to their own detriment because you a lot of times these girls won't even go crazy on you if you don't lie to them, if you
Right.
don't delude them, you don't gaslight them and make them think that it's something that is not when you already know that it's not, just to try and get the achieve efficacy that you're reaching for. And so I don't do that. So I'm very upfront and honest of what it is. And if you are cool with that, then we Gucci. If not, then all right.
No doubt. Yeah. I know we've talked about it already a couple of times. A huge fan of Michael Jackson. You even shouted him out on AM in Thailand. Have you ever seen him in concert before he passed away?
Unfortunately, I didn't. I never met Michael Jackson. I have a good relationship with his children and with his nieces and nephews now. And it was amazing to know that during my Vine days,
Yeah.
I was helpful and instrumental in helping, one of his children through that time of losing him
Mm-hmm.
and with videos. And so that was pretty dope. So to be able to feel like I'm able to touch him tangentially, that meant everything to me. But honestly, I'm kind of okay with the fact that I never met him, because the fact that I never met him, he remains a mystical figure. He
Right.
remains godlike to me, and sometimes when you meet people that you feel like that way for, they could never like actually like, reach whatever you have made for them in your head of what they are, because in reality they're just human beings. But I don't look at him as a human being. He's like something else to me, and I get to keep that with me forever now, because he never had an opportunity to dissuade my view of him.
Mm, that's true. That's very, very true. They often say that you don't want to meet your idols because they might change your mind. They might be different people in real life.
What
You
if I
know.
caught him a bad day? What if I
Yeah.
what if I caught him, during that time? What if he didn't know me? Now I would imagine that he maybe would have known me.
Hmm.
I've been pretty ubiquitous in the world of film and television for almost 25 years. So I imagine that it's possible that he could know me, but like, what if he didn't? And then he just kind of, because there's a different energy when you meet a celebrity and they know you or they are a fan, than if then they just looking at you like a fan or a regular person. Like, you'll get the what's up, man? Like you'll get the regular normal thing. But like if
Hmm.
they see you and they know you, it's gonna be affable to you. They're gonna smile. They're gonna like
Right.
you're gonna feel like, all right, this feels like something that is familiar.
Right. Right.
So yeah, I would have been sad like if he would have gave me the hey, and that would so I'm glad at the
um, soul food music. You talk about leaving a legacy, generational wealth to your kids and your grandkids. What are some of the words and lessons that you pass on to them about how to keep that legacy strong after you're gone?
Well, I do a lot of things by example. I show my children by example. I feel like that is the strongest tool that you have to indoctrinate anyone, is to let them see it from you. Let them see how it's done. You know what I'm saying? More so than just words. Words can be just anything that could be cast aside. But actions are something that, have a huge impact. And so that's what I do. They see how I operate. They see how I am as a dad. They see my patience. They see, my forbearance. And they see my passion, and they see how hard that I fight, you know. And so like just the other day, man, this was a great moment for me because I've been rapping for so long. I've been rapping most of them longer than the people that are on the internet that are commenting been alive, you
Right.
know. And I never had an opportunity to get that big break, or even though I had legends on my projects, like I still never got like the vast amount of the world to really know. Like if you know, but
Mm-hmm.
possible that you don't know. And so just as of late, when these freestyles have been starting to be disseminated, and what's crazy is, the one victory is mine. I dropped that in 2017,
I know. Yeah, I know you did. Yep.
and no one cared. There's a
Yep.
video for it. The video probably got 4,000 views or something. Like
Mm-hmm.
I knew that this destroyed everything. Like you don't touch that beat, bro, unless you're
Right.
going to do what I did on that beat. Otherwise, you leave it alone.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew that was one of my favorite songs of mine all time, and no one ever checks for it. Nobody ever asked me about it. Nobody's seen it. No one heard it. And I'm just like, damn, man. And then I do that, and now all of a sudden, oh my God, like, and listen, bro, better late than never, right?
Yeah.
And so there's this big YouTuber guy named No Life Shack who did a reaction video to that,
Mm-hmm.
and I watched it with my girl and with both my sons. We all watched it together, and I just felt so elated because I was watching someone react to
Right.
me the way that I react to me, the way that I feel like people should react when they listening to me. I was
Right.
watching that. So it made me not feel like I'm crazy for feeling the way that I feel as an actor, because clearly other people can feel like that too if they hear me. And
Yeah.
to watch my oldest son see someone else think, because he 25, he don't think I'm cool. I'm like competition to him, like he know he next, he the prince, so his mindset is like I need to be great to continue this legacy, and
Right.
and I don't make the type of music that he like, and I also don't make, like, even in my acting, sometimes it's not like his favorite thing. Like he's a whole different generation than me, and so I feel like there's a different relationship between like me and him than how I would imagine Bronny and LeBron relationship is,
Right.
or even Will Smith and
Jaden.
Jaden.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I don't really know what their relationship is, maybe they like, nigga, I don't care too, but I doubt it. But so I want to impress my son, and like my 12-year-old, he just loves me, he adores me, like I'm his hero. So he was smiling from ear to ear the whole time, like me. My son see another young person like him, like giving me love like that made me feel so good. You know what I'm saying? And to watch my girl, she's so happy because she see how happy I am, because I feel aggrieved for so long, bro. I feel like I'm the best actor slash rapper in the world. I feel like far as diversity, probably not fiscally or popularity wise, but far as diversity of skill, like far as everything that I do within both art forms, I feel like nobody does that better than me. Nobody can do drama, comedy, Shakespeare, do straight bars type songs, vibe songs, socially conscious songs, storytelling, like all of the things that I am, as far as the whole diversity of who I am. I feel like I'm the best,
Yeah.
and it feels like blasphemous for me to say that, because then people just want to start saying these names, these
Right.
best.
Right. Right.
that you look at as greats and legends that are so rich and who've done so much and accomplished so much in the world. But I'm talking about right now in this moment when it comes to doing both at the same time in the way that I do it. I feel like nobody is better than me, and to see that is finally starting to be disseminated, like, means everything to me.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. You can put people on a pedestal based on what they've done for the culture, and that's cool. I'm not knocking that at all. You know what I mean? But somebody that's doing both in both genres, that's very hard to do. It's very, very hard to do, and to do it at a high level where you're doing it at is even harder. So the fact that people are finally coming around, like that 2017 freestyle, what's old to you is new to somebody else. You know what I mean? So the fact that it's finally coming full circle for you, that's a great thing. And the fact that you got to experience that with your family is priceless. You know what I mean? Absolutely.
Yes, indeed.
Can you tell me a little bit about what the journey was like from the time that you decided to study theater at Western Michigan University, and what happened afterward when you decided to go further and then attend the graduate theater program at the University of Delaware? Tell me about those experiences a little bit.
Well, my dad was a very big part of my life. I don't think that he did things in a apropos way of raising me, but it worked. And to me, results matter, like they most. So it's not necessarily, how this cake was made, but if this cake is made and you taste and it's delicious, then, we good. But he definitely put some ingredients in there that shouldn't have been in there. But I wanted to commemorate him by, getting my education. And then I wanted to be great. I told you, Michael Jackson made me want to be great, not good, not serviceable, not also ran, not rank and file, but great. And I knew that the great actors came from the theater, and I knew that I loved Shakespeare and classical theater, and I wanted to be as prepared as possible when I came to LA because I knew that was a final destination. So I tried to continue my education and just get better so that I'm equipped when I got here. And, circumstances just aligned where I decided to leave school early and came to California, and the acting just happened immediately. I snuck into an audition and got the part, and that's what started my journey off as an actor. And since that was paying the bills, and at this time, unless you had a record deal, you couldn't get heard. I've had albums, bro. I got albums since I was in middle school, high school, college. Like, there's people in the world that got like tape from me from when I sound like a chipmunk, probably, you know what I mean? But if you ain't have a record deal, then the only thing you could do is pass them out to your friends and your family and whatever, until the internet came and it allowed you to be able to, like, spread your projects around the world through that. So yeah, that basically was the process of me going, from Western Michigan University. I went to Grand Rapids Community College, then I went to Western Michigan University, and then I went to University of Delaware for graduate school because I wanted to be better. I wanted to be great when I got to Los Angeles.
No doubt, no doubt. We talked about early memories and stuff like that, but I want to know, what is your exact earliest memory of hip hop? Like, what was the first thing that you saw that made you say, "Oh, I want to be a part of this culture"?
The first, I don't know if I definitively have an exact first moment, but I do have a first period that I can remember just on my own. And it's just my brother, who's 10 years older than me, letting me hear either Rapper's Delight, or I'm pretty sure that probably was it. But Kurtis Blow was the first rapper I remember acknowledging his person, his name, who he was. Kurtis Blow was the first one, and so that is what I remember first, is hearing and seeing Curtis Blow, seeing my brother become a part of the hip hop culture, far as like he used to wear Lee jeans, and then if he had a little lint on him, I used to see him like picking a lint off of his jeans so that it's like so crisp with like crease in them. I remember like the shoes he would wear. I remember him like wearing track suits, like Adidas track suits and stuff. And so I just remember that part of the time, and I remember the graffiti and the dancing and us putting cardboard out on the ground and break dancing. And I remember Electric Boogaloo, a movie that I was so enamored by because I wanted to be like Turbo so bad because his girlfriend was so cute and she didn't even speak English. and, and, and he could walk on the ceiling. So as a kid, that's like a superhero to me. So clearly, like, and he was brown skinned. So I'm like, dang, I want to be.
That's crazy. Like I said, he can walk on the ceiling too.
Yeah.
Who is the one artist or producer that actually makes you want to even step your pen game up more when you're in the studio with them?
Well, not in the studio with them, but I realized that I have a certain BPM that I love so much, and this one producer who did all of some of my favorite like beats to rap on straight bars wise, and it's Just Blaze. I realized that I use so many Just Blaze beats, and I just blaze all of them every single time. And so that he's like a producer that I would love to have an opportunity to work with, because with the straight bar stuff, if you went through, I feel like I probably use more beats from him than anybody else.
They use a lot of Just Blaze beats. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that was a good time in hip hop, though, man. Just Blaze beats was just crispy. It had that, it just had that feeling where you just had to spit over it. You couldn't come on a Just Blaze beat and not say some hard shit. You just couldn't do it. You definitely keep with that tradition. Absolutely. That kind of like answered my next question a little bit. So you want to work with Just Blaze. You haven't worked with him yet. Who do you want to work with acting wise that you haven't worked with yet?
Denzel Washington.
Of course.
I want to work. Yeah, of course, right. I want to work with Denzel Washington. I would love to work with Viola Davis, and Meryl Streep.
Okay, that's what's up, man. Great people as far as that acting sphere is concerned. Absolutely.
Hey, I'm curious.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put you on the spot here, but just because I want to know, and I implore you to be candid in this answer, because it's all good. I just would like to what is your initial response when you hear me bloviate about me being the best rapper / actor right now? Like what does your brain initially think when you hear that? And not just because you're talking to me right now, but like is it like, he bugging, and then some names come to things in head, and then you have like reasons of why you feel that way? The reason I'm asking this is because I'm trying to see if I'm tripping, and if I am, I would like to speak to somebody who is able to express themselves in a cogent fashion to make me understand why. Because when you hear the initial thing and people initially, they just immediately say, "What? Pop? Will Smith?" They just start rattling off things. But then when I go into being specific with them, and I go into like explaining like my skill set versus them and the whole thing, then they have to like reconsider that. And so I'm curious to see, for your own personal opinion, what do you think when I say that?
I think you have, first of all, I think you have every right to say it. Second of all, Second of all, I believe it. And the reason I say that is because I can pull up Pac and say, if Pac was still here, I think Pac would have probably won an Oscar by now. I think Pac would have had Grammy-winning albums, etc. Will Smith is great. I was never really a fan of Will Smith as a rapper. I've always been entrenched in more bars, things that are more hardcore. That's just my era. That's how I grew up, and that's what I attract to. I can even put Ludacris in that conversation and say Ludacris is a great actor, but Ludacris is also a great MC as well. Your dialect and your wordplay is different from all of those other dudes. Like the words that you use, some people got to look them shits up in the dictionary and be like, yo, what the fuck is he talking about? Like, but the way that you incorporated lyrically into songs, nobody else is doing that. You know, like I watched an interview with you with Big Boy, and I forget what the fucking word was, but you said some shit, and I was like, I don't even know what the fuck that shit is. You know what I'm saying?
I probably said in this interview that you was like, I don't know what the fuck that is.
No, you said a couple. You said a couple. And when I go back and edit this, I'm gonna be like, okay, let me double down on that and look that one up. But that's the beauty of it, though. That's the beauty of it, right? That's the beauty of you as an individual and as an MC, right? I feel like you are one of the best that are doing both at this point, at this time, right here, right now in 2024. You're one of the best that's doing rapping and acting, right? I want to see you gain more accolades for both, right? 25 years in the game, I want to see you get in a movie that's Oscar nominated, right? Yeah. I want to see you reach that plateau. I want to see you take that Shakespearean taught acting that you have in you and move it to an even higher level on the big screen, right? And then as far as the music is concerned, I want to see you put out a project that resonates with people, right? That resonates with more than just your immediate core fan base of people that love lyricism, right? I want to see you be able to put something out that does that. And that gets you bigger accolades for being an MC, not a rapper, but an MC, right?
How does in this climate of like me being a man of a certain age, you know, I don't necessarily make music that like my 25-year-old would be, right? And that is the demographic of people that are pushing the big things forward, right? And so how do I resonate with the masses when I come from the golden era and I give off the energy of that type of rapping? Even though, listen, my straight bars sound nothing like my albums. My albums are completely different, where, you know, I do have melodic songs and songs that are just aesthetically pleasing to the ear, you know what I'm saying? But I'm still not necessarily catering to that other audience. So I'm curious of how does one even do that?
I don't think you have to cater to the audience. Of course, I think you just keep doing what you're doing. Like Killer Mike is a perfect example of that. Like Killer Mike did not cater to today's sound of music, and he walked away and swept the fucking Grammys. Like the people just happened to be listening at the right time, and he dropped the project at the right time, and he got a lot of popular people that got behind it and was like, yo, this is that shit. And the Academy happened to listen. You know, I think Jay said it perfect when he said they don't always get it right too. You know what I mean? Because they don't. But there are times when they do, you know, and I think that's a testament to just being an artist, staying in your wheelhouse and doing what feels right to you on the music. The worst thing you could ever do is try to make music that goes to a certain genre or a certain age. That's the worst thing you could ever fucking do. Like that'll get you that'll get you more foul comments than anything else. You know what I mean? Like keep doing exactly what you're doing. And at some point, I feel like it'll resonate with people other than just us. You know what I mean?
And that was a 2-part question. And the second part of that is, if you had to, for your own personal opinion, not like whatever the accolades have been, but for your own personal opinion, if you put me compared to whoever you think the best actor is in the world, whoever that is for you, and then you put me next to the best rapper in the world, whoever you think that is, which do you think I'm closer to? Meaning, which one do you think I'm better at for you personally?
That's a tough fucking question.
I know, that's why I asked you.
That's a tough question.
And I kind of
Tough fucking question, man.
I kind of helped you. I helped you by saying, if you take whoever the top actor is for you, and you put me next to them, am I closer to them, or am I closer to whoever you think the top best rapper is? I feel like that can help you see which one you look at me better as.
I think you're closer to the top actor that I would choose, which would be Denzel.
That's your favorite actor?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's my favorite actor. Yeah. He's my favorite. Jeffrey Wright is another one of my favorites.
Woo!
Yeah. And there's a few others, but Denzel is cream of the crop. As far as MCs are concerned, Jay-Z's my favorite, but Rakim is my all-time favorite.
Oh, wow.
And prior to Rakim, it would be Grandmaster Caz from the Cold Crush.
Yeah.
Would be with those. So those three guys are like my elite MCs. But I would put you closer to Denzel than I would to a Jay-Z.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. That makes sense. Well, thank you. But thank you for answering those tough questions.
Absolutely.
I just like to hear perspective and see how what I do is being disseminated to the world and the public, and so I appreciate that. Go ahead and ask your last question.
Two more questions. What does acting mean to you?
Acting to me is an expression of emotions that you don't necessarily get to live through in your real life. So I'm able to emote and live through characters, stories, feelings that I might not necessarily have in my real life. Now, I think that is so important because I'm such a balanced human being. I don't get too high, I don't get too low. I try not to. I try and stay balanced and tranquil. Sometimes it's fun to express myself as a villain. Sometimes it's fun to express myself, in different facets and ways that might not be completely natural to me. And I enjoy doing that. I feel like it makes me a more rounded person.
Okay. Actually, two more questions, because that answer just spawned another question. What has been the hardest role for you to prepare for, and what has been the hardest song for you to write?
The song, there's two songs. Shit. There's actually three songs that were the hardest songs for me to write. One song was called Letter, which I'm pretty sure you never even heard of before, but it was a song that I did with Elzhi. There's a video for it on YouTube. It's called Letter. And it was me writing a letter to my two kids that I had, the ones that are older now, but they were like little when I was writing this letter. And it was me being in college, a young kid, not wanting to have kids, trying to figure out my way, not knowing how to be a dad, not wanting to have been a dad, and just trying to figure this shit all out like in real time when I have all these hopes and dreams of what I wanted to do in my life. And now this is somewhat being derailed by this hurdle that came there and how I'm trying to work through it. And then, you know, writing them this letter, being completely honest of like how it happened, how it occurred, where they came from, how, you know, how they appeared, and then me and my emotions and feelings behind it, you know. And then that second verse, so Elzhi then had a song writing a letter to his little brother. It's a dope song. And that second verse that I had, I remember specifically writing that verse. I was driving from Detroit in a blizzard snowstorm to Grand Rapids, which is, you know, like I always went from Detroit to Grand Rapids, Kalamazoo, because I went to Grand Rapids Community College and I went to Western Michigan University. So I was constantly doing that triangle all the time. And I remember being in a snowstorm, leaving from my son, Tim, and, you know, he probably was like 2 or 3 or something. And he was just so scared of me. Like when I would come there, he would just run behind his mom's leg and hide from me. And, you know, that really like broke my heart. And I remember writing that rap while I'm driving, like, cause I didn't write. I used to just make the rap in my head and say it out loud through by rote. That's how I would learn it. And I remember I was just bawling, crying. And then I realized like I was also crying because it was so, even though it was hard for me to do, it was so effortless for me to create because I had just experienced him doing this to me. And I just felt so grateful that God was just letting the words just pour out and the imagery of what was actually happening. It was just flowing out of me. And you know me, I don't just say stuff like one way. My stuff is like layered. Like how I paint my pictures is like Shakespeare. Like, you know, they need to be like layered into like intricate like writing. You know what I'm saying? Like, because I'm such a huge fan of Shakespeare. And so I'm painting this picture, it's still barred up. You know what I mean? So I remember making that and then getting to my daughter's part and like remembering like how she was with me and treating me and how she was didn't want to be around me or bothered by me because she was just a baby. And, you know, and here this strange man is coming and you know what I mean? And so that song was hard. The Page Did song was like actually writing hard for me. It took me, man, I'm not gonna lie, it took me like 2 months to write that rap.
You bodied that shit though. That shit.
Listen to me. I almost gave up on that rap so many because I just didn't think it was good enough. I was struggling getting, because I knew how important that song is and what Jay-Z did to that. And I was trying to tell my story and I just felt like, I don't like it. I don't like it. It's not good enough. I don't like my wordplay is not, like, I was struggling. It took me 2 months to make that damn song, bro. And then when I was sick, I still was like, damn, it's not good. It's not good. It wasn't until it was like fully done with everything applied to it that I was like, oh shit. Oh shit. Oh it. You know, it took me that long. And then obviously the last hardest song, which is actually probably one of my favorite songs that I've done, it's in my top 5 for sure, is Giving Up.
Giving Up?
Yeah. Giving Up is the last song on the Book of Pages album. And it's me talking about, you know, the whole like releasing of the album. And, you know, Giving Up wasn't a part of the album, but I had put the album out for I allowed like my pagers to be able to buy the album from me personally before I put it out on streaming platforms, and like nobody was like buying it. And the despondency of having a listening party and I was the only party listening was very difficult for me. And I talked to Elzhi, and I was giving him my passion of like how frustrated I was in my life, because I spent $100,000 on this album of my acting money, and I put this shit out and nobody cares. And then this punk ass strike came, and it came right before my fucking movie. Like, and I'm thinking that this movie is about to turn me into a movie star. I'm like, all right, I'm in a franchise, and I get to pick ass in this movie, and everybody's saying that I'm testing the highest in this movie, and it's about to change my life, and everything's about to be up, and how many actors actually get to be in a summer blockbuster franchise movie, and I got all this shit going, and then right before my fucking movie come out, a strike happens, and I can't promote my shit. I got a song in the movie and they wanted to fly me to China to perform it at the National Chinese Theater, and I've never performed at a big ass amphitheater like that. They were gonna have dancers, they were gonna have like a big huge thing. I was on a whole China tour, just flying around the world, promoting my movie and all of that, and I've been waiting for that shit all damn year. And then right before the movie comes out, we go on strike, and I can't say shit. And it just destroyed me, bro. It just destroyed me. I was so angry. I was apoplectic with rage, and the only thing that I could do is like immerse myself into the actual art form of what we were doing and get my ass out on those picket lines and walk for the cause, even though I was so mad that we went on strike right before my fucking movie, And so I wrote a song about it, and I poured all of that passion into that Giving Up song. And it's performed well. That's a attribute that I have that other rappers don't have, is that I'm an actor, and so I know how to make something be gradual, and I know how to make it crescendo slowly to make you feel some kind of way. So those were the 3 hardest songs. I'm sorry that was so trunk.
No, man, I know you needed to get that out. I needed to hear that. Absolutely, man. And I gotta say that, it sucks that shit happened right at the time when you was right there. You know what I mean? But you gotta believe that there's something else better coming. You know what I mean? You gotta believe that.
Yeah, you should check that song out. That
I am. I definitely am.
Yeah, it's the last.
The hardest role for you to prepare for.
Hardest role for me to prepare for. This is a crazy ass answer, but I mean, I feel like it's the truth. The hardest role for me to prepare for is something that nobody ever even seen. It was like really? I did this thing for it was these YouTubers called Rhett and Link's buddy system, and they had was it like I feel like it was like when YouTube was making like original series, like full on series, and they brought me in for a few episodes to play this magician. Okay. And this magician has so much dialogue, and then not along with the dialogue, he also had performances that he had to do, So I had to not only learn all, and he spoke very difficult. Like the writing for him was so condensed, and it was dense, and it was so much. And then not only me struggling to like learn these lines, I had to actually learn how to be a magician and look like I know how to do it. And that's a difficult thing for an actor. A lot of times, an actor is made to look like he is the best in the world at something that they're doing that we're just learning how to do ourselves. But we're playing like we're the absolute best. Like Bradley Cooper in Maestro, him having to do that, and bro, I feel like he bodied that role. And I feel like if this was any other time, like he would have won the Oscar for that, because that was such an arduous task to try to make this man look like he was the greatest maestro of all time. And you watching him knowing why he's the greatest, because you watching it and he never even knew how to do any of that. Right there. You know how hard that is to look professional at something that you don't even know what this is. I have to I marvel at magicians. I never imagined I could fucking pull that off, but I had to do it. So that gave me a lot of anxiety because I was nervous and scared that I wouldn't do a good job. But
okay, gotcha.
oh, I know that's not that you were looking for, because that's not something that
No, man, that's your truth, man, and I'm still taking notes, and I'm gonna look and review all this stuff after the fact anyway. So it's all good. Last question, man. Hip hop turned 50 years old last year, man. We've been a part of this culture pretty much since day one, outside of maybe a few years. In the spirit of hip hop turning 50, man, what does hip hop mean to you?
Man, hip hop means to me my life, my lifestyle, my makeup, my everything that I walk through life as, from the way I dress, from the way that I talk, from the way that I feel, like I feel like I am hip hop. I feel like, that's who I am. That's who I am in my core, and I love it and I appreciate it. And I'm right now currently working on a project where I conjugate hip hop culture with Shakespeare in order to try and bring Shakespeare to a new, younger, broader audience that were either intimidated by it or didn't care about it, because his stories are still relevant, and I am going to use his words in a story that young people actually know about or care about, and use it through the conduit of Shakespeare's text. And hopefully that's something that I could be known for, of bringing that, to a broader audience. So it's Shakespeare for you. And the first thing is Macbeth in Compton.
Macbeth in Compton. Okay. That sounds like something. Yeah. All right. Definitely. I'm looking forward to it. Absolutely.
Imagine Snowfall meeting Shakespeare's Macbeth. And that's what it is.
That's crazy. That sounds crazy. Definitely. Paige, man, thank you so much, man, for taking the time out, man, to join me on The Essence, man. It's truly been a pleasure, man, to kind of like pick your brain and just hear your truth. You know what I mean? Definitely, man. I commend you on the things that you're doing. Keep doing exactly what you're doing, man. Don't change shit for nobody, man. Just keep doing exactly what you're doing, man. As far as being an MC, they will listen. They will listen. You just keep banging them in the fucking head. And they're gonna listen, bro.
That's what's up, man. Hey, I appreciate you. It's been a very fun interview. I really enjoyed it, and I got to do it.
Absolutely. I will hit you up for some pictures for the magazine. We got to get some cover shots and stuff like that. Some pictures for the inside, all that kind of stuff. I'll shoot you my email. You can shoot them over to me whenever you get a chance. And when the magazine comes out and when this interview comes out, I'll tap in with you.
All right. That's what's up, man. I appreciate you, brother.
Right. No doubt. Salute.
All right. Peace.
All right. One.